Hi guys, so now it's been about 5 weeks I think since the last rubber band free update I did, and I wanted to do another one. I'm just a couple days past the 6-month mark now, and the past few weeks I've kind of been feeling that this was really a bit too premature. The thing is, my dreads are really just getting into that teenage phase, and I probably should have waited until they were a bit more stable. Like, there are definitely quite a few that are a bit farther along, they're more mature, and with those it hasn't been an issue at all. But there were definitely some, aside from the few that I said last time that I lost, there were some others that didn't come out completely, but they kind of started to like slide down the length, and there's somewhere like I can pull the ends and actually get it to move back up, but then there's somewhere they're kind of like stuck down lower, and I don't really have a problem with that. Like, I'm fine leaving them like down lower if there's, you know, only about like this much length between the end, because, you know, that just adds a bit more variety to it. But for the ones that I can push back up, I do, and I just don't want to risk them slipping all the way back down. And then on top of that, I'm often like pulling out tangles, and a lot of times, you know, it could just be tangles that are in the bottom half itself, but I still feel that a lot of times they at least partially get up into that locked area, and if I'm pulling tangles out of that area, then I'm really setting myself back. So in that sense, you could kind of say that I'm not really where I should be with 6 months, because with a lot of them, I'm kind of, yeah, going backwards a little bit, and I definitely want to put a stop to that. So I was thinking about going back and adding rubber bands again to the ones that are just not quite ready yet, and like really waiting until they are. In the last update, I said that I had put some in the back at the top of the lock, and I think most of those came out pretty quickly, just because there's like more pressure because they were like closer to my scalp. And the reason those are messier in the first place is, you know, probably because they're just like rubbing against the pillow when I'm laying down on my back, and it's not something that I'm really aware of, because of course when I'm awake I'm not, you know, rubbing around like that. I typically like take my hair and like lay it under my head to like prop myself up a bit, so it's definitely not happening when I'm awake. But it's, yeah, it's really gotten pretty messy back there, and unfortunately adding the rubber bands at the top didn't help. There were a lot of times I would feel a hair that was like maybe had gotten caught on something and it's like came out slightly, like it wasn't fully in line with the rest of the twist, and then I would just pull on it until it came out completely, and then of course it's like hanging out there loose, which is not ideal. One thing I did forget to elaborate on is being sort of teenage dreads, and I would say that I've been in the teenage phase since the 2-month point, where I could really feel that they were starting to lock and starting to bud. What happens is they start to bud, you know, somewhere along the length of it. I've read like about 3/4 of the way down. Since I was only letting the top half lock, then 3/4 of that would have been like just right above where I cut it off, which sounds about right. But then it moves downward from there before moving back up, and that sort of played into the mistake I made letting them go, because when there was no longer this like barrier here, they started trying to move further down. So that's just one more reason why it definitely is better to wait until they are solid and have like a stable set end point before you let them free.